Welcome back to Mission Bound. My name is Tom, and this is
Mike who?
Mike James, 2004 NBA champion. We are so glad that you're with us today. Every week, we get a chance to sit down and we talk about all things sports, life, and leadership.
Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you can watch every episode on YouTube. Just search Mission Bound Podcast.
So today is going to be a lot of fun today, Mike, because our guest today he's not just a player, but he's also an ESPN analyst. And he's almost had two careers. It's the great Kendrick Perkins. Are you excited about having him on the show?
I'm really excited. We're going to talk a little bit about his career, talk a little bit about how he's been a little controversial, behind the camera. So it's really going to be a fun episode.
So here's the deal, Mike. Kendrick's going to be on the show in a few minutes, but what do you think about athletes once their career is over, they suddenly become analysts? And I don't know, as a guy who sits on the couch, who watches games, there are times where I'm like, oh my goodness, they're the best. And I'm going to be honest, there are times where I'm like, man, like, why did they let them on the camera? And so you're a player, so you come from a different perspective. What do you think about players that become analysts? What's your overall, just first thoughts on it?
You have to have players analyzing, the sport. They're the wise ones. They're the geniuses. It's a different perspective. If it's the average Joe that's behind the camera telling you about a sport, they're going to tell it to you from a fan base. They're going to tell it to you from more of an emotional feelings than it coming from their expertise. When you have an athlete that now analyzing the game, he's coming to you based off of his understanding of the sport and his the level of the amount of information that he was able to gather when he played the sport.
So you brought up a good point. Typical non-playing analysts, they really talk about the emotion of the game. And people who have played the game, they bring in their expertise in the unseen nuances. As I sit there and I watch NFL and I once in a while watch baseball and I watch the NBA, I love both. But let me ask you this. Which one do you connect with more when you're watching a show? Do you connect with the expertise or do you connect with the emotion more? Because that's a great point. Analysts are supposed to do two different things, right? Which one hits you?
Well, I want to hear the expertise. I want to hear coming from, their perspective instead of just the emotion, because emotions change like the weather. Right. And so, just because a person dunks the ball, you may be able to get excited about the dunk, but I really want to know, how did that play break down? How did the defense break down in order for that guy, to get open for the dunk? And how was the offense able to maneuver around the defense in order to make that play happen? Right. And so a person may get excited about what just took place, the dunk, but I want to know, how did everything how did it all transpire? And I think that only an analyst that's been in that position can only be able to break it down to a fan that's watching it on the couch, because they really don't know. All they know is the excitement of the dunk, but they really don't know the breakdown of it all.
Now, you're right, but when I watch the game, I like to be connected to it emotionally. Now, this person wasn't a player, but my favorite sportscaster, Chicago Cubs, Harry Carey. When he would get up there in the 7th grade, and I know you're thinking, Harry Carey doesn't play baseball. Harry Carey probably never threw a baseball, and I don't know the whole history of Harry Carey, but you're probably right. But when he got up there, and he got entire stadium, Wrigley Field, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," like every dad, every kid felt like they were living the dream, and he created that emotion. Isn't that what analysts are supposed, or commentators are supposed to do? Is help create the right emotion in the game. They help shape it, right?
Of course, they allow the flow of the game to, especially for the fans that are not there, that's watching it on television, that's watching it on the radio. It's almost like they're the ones that make them feel like they're at the ballpark, right, or make them feel like they're at the game. And so they have to keep the flow of the game going on. So the analyst perspective is very important, but I think that's the reason why it has to be a settled mix. You have to have the ones that can give the emotion of it and also break down the analytics of the game as well, where some people, they want to feel the excitement to take me out to the ball game. Yep. And then there's those that don't really care about that part of it. Yep. They want to know what's the breakdown of the game and how can you help me stay along with it.
So who do you think, and I have my own, who do you think is the best athlete turned commentator athlete turned commentator. I have my own. I'm going to share them. And believe it or not, my favorite isn't in the NBA. And the NBA is my primary sport. Who do you think is the best athlete that's become commentator?
I like Charles Barkley. You know,
I actually forgot he played. That's funny.
Oh my goodness, you kidding me? He's one of the greatest players at his position, and he was a midget at his position.
Right, exactly.
So, but when he turned commentator, the thing I liked was he never bit his tongue, and he was never afraid of But he still kind of protected the athlete. He was
a little bit,
yeah,
right? A little bit.
He knew those boundaries, but it's a thin line.
Do you know who I think, and I would agree, Charles Barkley is amazing. And yes, I do know him as an athlete, but I almost know him more as a commentator because he's been doing like 12, 15 years now, long time. My guy is new to the game.
Uh-huh.
He just retired a few years ago, and the day after he retired, they threw him into the sportscaster booth, Tony Romo. Tony Romo. And now I'm going to be honest, I need to go on the air and just say this. I am not a Dallas Cowboys fan. We probably will never have any Dallas Cowboy players on this show. They will probably never want to come on this show, and we understand because I am not a fan of that. It will take me a while to overcome that, and just like hockey.
But Dak, if you want to come on this show, listen, dog, you're more than welcome. Just saying. Forget him. I will ask you all the questions.
But if you're not on the Cowboys anymore, you're welcome. Okay, like a former Cowboy, they're all welcome. But anyway, Tony Romo. What do you think of Tony Romo as an athlete turned commentator? Have you listened to him enough to kind of know?
Of course. I think that when you're able to play the game slows down to you, especially when you played at such a high level. Mm-hmm. And now you're able to break down the game to where people can understand it, you know, and that's what makes a great broadcaster is someone that's able to help a child stay along, walk along during the game. And so that's what makes him great is that he's able to articulate his words enough to where everyone that's watching him is like, you know what, this guy really knows what he's talking about, even a child.
I'm laughing because I think you nailed it on the head. A good commentator can bring a child along. And I related myself to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can bring me along. I'm like a fifth grader sometimes. Oh, that's amazing. And so that's what a good commentator is supposed to do. Now I think that my best, you've given your best. Who do you think is athlete turned commentator? Maybe they should keep working on their game. Maybe they've got and the guy that I have in my mind, I'm going to be honest with you, and he would probably tell you his first couple years, he probably would, if you were really honest, he would probably say, hey Tom, you're right. You were right on this one. But I know the guy that I'm going to share with you, I thought he sucked. He was just poor. He was bad. He hurt my ears to listen to, but he's still on the air and he's come a long way since then. And I'll share mine in a minute. Who is your guy? I'm gonna force you to say something. I know you were in the game, but man, you gotta. Who is the guy that's not that great at it?
Could
keep working on.
He wasn't that great, but he's gotten better. But I remember when Tim Hardaway was on air. And I was like, Tim, you've had one of the greatest crossovers to ever have out of any ball player.
But the microphone wasn't crossing over.
Yeah, you know what? The crossover from basketball to broadcasting, let's cross over to something else. Yeah.
My guy?
Who?
Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, when he first went on the air, he was one of the words, I literally would turn on my closed captioning just so I could see what he said.
But you know what? They will give him the chances and the opportunities to succeed because of who he is. And that has a lot to do with it. It really has nothing to do with what he's saying, but the fact that Shaq has millions of followers, and the fact that Shaq was who Shaq was as an athlete. Now they're going to give him those chances to be able to now come into his own as a broadcaster.
But okay, and a guy like Shaq is going to get a longer on ramp. Correct? Mm-hmm. But most NBA athletes, unless you have a career like a Shaq or, rest in peace, a Kobe or somebody like that, the truth is you don't get that long of an on-ramp, right? You get a few chances. And then if it doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out, right?
It seems cutthroat.
A little bit.
It seems like they put you on that camera and they're like, now what you going to say? and you better be quick enough to be able to keep up with everyone. And if not, then you got to move over. And now you have to remember there are more women that are now coming into broadcasting and speaking on all different sports, even though they haven't played those sports.
That's true.
Now there's even less jobs for athletes now, so you really have to come in ready and on with your A game.
And that's why everyone's doing podcasts right now.
That's
right?
the reason why. Hey, if you
and that's
ain't
why we're
making
here,
it,
baby.
if ESPN don't call you, you get to create your own.
We're not ESPN. What should we call ourselves?
Mission Bound.
Mission Bound Podcast.
Yes.
MBSN. Okay. Here's a final question on this, because I think this is a compelling and an interesting topic to dialogue on, and I don't think enough of us actually talk about what happens when you hang up your jersey and moving into the commentator booth. Here's my question. Who do you think that because you know a lot of people, who do you think should be a commentator that isn't right now? Call it out. Give me a shout out to your boy. Say, man, you need to get in front of that camera. You need to be on that microphone because you got it. You know,
there are players, there are guys that can do it. I think that the main thing is going to be the dedication. You know, sometimes after they're done playing, they may have taken on different fields in life instead of wanting to be behind the camera or instead of wanting to coach. Because whatever you do after the game, we married ourselves to this sport for so long that it's kind of like a nasty divorce when it's over with. And so now you find yourself, you know, having to figure out what's that next step. And some guys, they walk into coaching and now they have to marry that. And now, you know, they're separated from their families all over again. Or they go into broadcast, which means they're doing more traveling. And now they're away from their family all over again. And so you have to remember when these guys are making these steps into these next stages in life, they also still the sacrifices that are still being made. So that's the reason why a lot of guys are not making those steps into broadcasting or not making those steps into coaching, because of how much of a sacrifice they have to make and how many people got to suffer from it.
They leave their family for so long. They want to be around their family.
Yeah,
they want to see their kids grow up again. Yeah.
It's different.
I think the guy that I would say I would like to see him be a broadcaster, only because I think he would be an out-of-the-box broadcaster, is one of the guys that we actually had on the show, one of your friends, Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah, Rasheed is great. I mean, personality, articulate, and, you know, people look at him as a dangerous person until they meet him, and then it's like, oh,
he was really nice on our show, right?
And I'm pretty sure if you saw him, you'd have probably locked your door and would have been like, you know what, I'm not messing with this guy. Who is this crazy guy? But when you find out he is very mild-tempered and a very calm and sweet person to get to know, you know, I think that gives you a whole different aspect of him, and him on camera would definitely be great.
Yeah, now we'll jump into our episode today, but last question. Coaches do this too. Coaches move from their careers into broadcasting. I'm going to say two names. Mm-hmm. Of the two, you pick your favorite. Stan Van Gundy or the other Van Gundy?
You know, I'm a little biased because I remember when Jeff Van Gundy was my coach, he used to make me. Stan was my coach also.
You had both Van Gundys as coaches?
Stan was my rookie coach my first 2 years in the NBA. Pat Riley was the head coach. Stan was he was the head assistant. So I was underneath him for those 2 years, and then I was under Jeff as well. But the thing that boggled me about Jeff, it was the first time he got mad at me for standing in the wrong place while I was preparing to shoot a three-pointer. And he said, "Dang it, Mike, don't stand here, stand here." And I looked at him and said, "Are you serious right now?" And so that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth.
He didn't see you as the most teachable guy on the planet.
Because I didn't stand here. I stood there.
How many feet were you off? Just
probably not even a foot.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
even think it was a foot. It was like inches, because a foot makes a shot that much further. So why would I want to be a foot further away from a shot? Okay, let's change that subject. That little anger started coming upon me. So
Stan or Jeff,
we're going to say
you on the show.
Stan, you're the man.
I like Jeff. I'm going with Jeff. So anyway, this has been a lot of fun, and just right now we're going to jump into our guest today. Our guest today, former NBA player, now an ESPN analyst, and shaking up the airwaves with his controversy. His name is Kendrick Perkins. We're going to jump in. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And KP, man, I appreciate you truly being here, man. It's definitely an honor.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate you having me on, man. Mission bound. You raised me still to this day, man. You call me Big Baby. You the only person in the world that I allow to give me that nickname because you watched me grow up as an 18-year-old, from your kids calling me Big Baby. They were the official ones to give me that name. You just kind of stuck with it, though. But they the James family is the only family that I allow to call me that, and I'm cool with it. It actually brings a smile on my face.
That's good to know, Mike. That's good to know, Kendrick. I will not call you Big Baby ever, okay? I just want to go on record. Not going to happen.
And the funny thing about that is when I remember the day that I said it and I was looking at him and I'm like, man, this guy is 17 years old. This guy is in the NBA and he's like a monster.
Wow.
I said, you a big baby. And it just so happened that I just started and just stayed that way. And to this day, man, you always going to be Big Baby.
Man, hey, look, Mike, to you, man, I appreciate it. We was neighbors. Man, you showed me the ropes as a youngster. A lot of people don't understand, and I always mention this to a lot of, especially young athletes and basketball players. You survive in the league by your vets. Like when you come in as a rookie, that's why the average career is 3.5, 4 years. I was able to have a 14-year career because I had an open mind and I had great vets. See, people didn't understand that when I said that. It's not all about your vets being Hall of Famers or to that nature. I had Mike James. I had Walter McCarty. I had Tony Delk. I had, Tony Battie. I had that Eric Williams. Those type of vets who played for a long, who played for a long period of time and actually taught me how to be a true professional. That's the difference.
Kendrick, elaborating on that, how important is the locker room, when you're trying to win a championship? How important is it to have the right pieces, not just the pieces that's going to be on the court, but the right pieces in the locker room as well?
The ones that fit together.
Well, you got to have it, and it's crucial. And I hate that, nowadays the NBA is going away from veterans, right? Because the vet minimum went up. I think that plays a huge part where teams don't want to pay a vet 2.4 when they can go get a young guy for about $400,000, right? But you look at guys like Jared Dudley, who's a guy that's going to play his role. He's going to be that ultimate team guy. May not play for 10 games, but when his number called, he's ready. A guy that could be a mentor to Kyle Kuzma and the other young people that's in the locker room on how to punch in the clock. And there's nothing wrong with that. And vets are so valuable. And you look at even right now with the Houston Rockets, they're in the middle of the playoff series and, they got this situation where they going through with Daniel House. Just because you're a superstar doesn't make you a leader. And no disrespect, but you need that role player guy that's going to be in the locker room, that's going to hold everything together, that heart and soul that's going to hold people accountable and show the young guys the way and say, hey, we got to discipline ourselves and make the right moves.
Kendrick, you had such an illustrious career on the court, but you've actually moved into a whole new field. You are now a commentator. You are now a part of the media. And you were kind of known on the court as a bully. Would that be a fair assessment or not? Like a strong guy. You move people around. You weren't afraid.
I would say an enforcer, right? That didn't take nothing, but like Zach Randolph say, where I'm from, bullies get bullied. So, it's crazy because I earned that nickname Big Baby going back to our initial conversation because Mike knew how I was on the court, but off the court, he knew how genuinely I was. Like, I wasn't that same guy. Like, I'm a cool, laid-back guy that like to have fun, that's going to always be laughing and giggling, that type of thing. So, Yeah, I did have that title as being an enforcer. If you want to call me a bully, I'll take that too.
And not to insult, we're not trying to insult you, Kendrick, but you
No,
are
it's all good.
you were an enforcer, a bully on the court, but now you've moved into the media. And to be honest, let's be honest, you're a little controversial. You're out there. You say things, you don't mince words, and I love that. So, what is it like to be a bully on the court or an enforcer? And now you're kind of the enforcer, maybe bully in the media too. What does that transition look like for you?
Well, it's not the easiest thing, right? Because you have a lot of critics, you'll have a lot of people that disagree with you. But the thing about it is that I'm a fan, I'm a student of the game. Not only did I play 14 years, but I said the one thing that might end up ending up my marriage is my the way that I watch basketball so much. That's the only thing I cheat on my wife with is that I watch the game of basketball. She can't keep me from in front of the television from watching the game. And I'm a student of the game. So anything I say, I actually have my facts, and it's actually something that I'm seeing with my own eyes. I don't get caught up in the analytics and all that, and I speak and I say what I say. Hey, look, I call it how I see it. Either you gonna rock with me or not. You got to have tough skin in this situation. But the good thing about it is that every person, every brother that I made friends with, that I'm still cool, that during my playing career, whether it's front office guys, coaches, or current players, former players, I still got the same love because they understand this is who Perk always been. The same person that is speaking on TV, I would say the same thing in locker room. So it's nothing about me that changed. It's just now that people are actually being able to hear me.
Okay, do you feel you need to protect the player? How do you go about that being politically correct, man?
Because there's a brotherhood, right? The NBA is a brotherhood.
It is a brotherhood, and here it is, Mike. If you go on there being biased, right, and not speaking the honest truth, you'll find yourself without a job, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
But now basketball takes are different. You could watch the game, I could watch the game, we all could watch the game and give our basketball opinion about something like, oh man, Anthony Davis and LeBron didn't play well tonight. They're two of my good friends, but they know if they don't play well, I got to call it out. But they also know that I'm going to be the first person to give them their flowers and praise them when they do when they are on top. So, this is how I handle it. If it has something to do with their personal life and it's a subject matter that comes about on television, then what I do is I call them and reach out to them. And I get their point of view if it's something that has something to do with not dealing with basketball. So what I do is I say, look, this is the topic that we got to talk about. Tell me how you feel, and you can speak through me because I don't really want to speak on it because I don't know the situation. Talk through me, and then that's what they'll do. So that's how I keep my brotherhood strong. I still talk to all my guys. They know how I feel about them, and they know I got a job to do. There's only one sensitive person that got mad at me, and that was KD. I mean, that's the only person. One out of 500, I'm cool with it.
Okay, have you ever said anything, man, that you said, like, as you were saying, you was like, oh, man, I wish I didn't air that one out, man.
I wish I could put those words right back in my mouth.
But yeah, you know what? At the beginning, sometimes my delivery, you get caught up in the moment. And when I first started last year, I learned as I started doing more that I need to rehearse my topics the night before. You know what I'm saying? So like, for example, during the time where Kyrie was trying to stop the NBA from playing, I wasn't for it. And the reason I wasn't for it was because he didn't have a plan to back it up. And I was like, well, you just saying don't play, but what is it going to change if you don't have a plan to go forward? And everyone wasn't on the same page. So I went on TV the next morning on the get up, and I was like, I started the conversation off, and I was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of Kyrie. if you take his brain and you put it in a bird, you know what that bird go do? It's go fly backwards. And that's like I had to go back and like apologize, not because nobody made me, but just because of the situation at hand, that he meant well during this time that we're dealing with for us in social justice and everything in America. So like that was like the most recent that I had to, that I felt like, all right, I could have disagreed with him, but I didn't have to bring that type of charisma to
Kendrick, I'm going to applaud you. Maybe not for the thought of it, but the creative aspect of that. You're talking about the size of his brain in a bird flying backwards. That is like one. Whoa, that's a mind blowing metaphor. That should be in a Christopher Nolan movie or something, man.
Well, you know, I grew up in Beaumont, Texas, a country town.
Come on.
And I'm an old soul, so I was around my great uncles, and a lot of my punchlines I get from just my people that I'm around on a day-to-day basis. Like, you will be surprised how like all these old school people got these sayings that I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna use this.
Hey, you never thought that you'd be on camera using them.
You were saying that you really practice before you go on shows. You really think it through. Just curious, how much practice and energy did you put before you came on this show today? I just need to know, like 5 seconds, 4 seconds, or I mean, come on, it's mission back.
Nah, I actually, when Mike told me about it and told me the time and date, I had already programmed my mind to be ready for it. So this was already in the makings from the time that he sent me the text message. I don't know if it was Mike, last week sometime maybe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, last week. So I don't take, this the thing, I don't take any show or any podcast I do, I approach everyone the same way that I would if it was a big stage, a First Take or any of those ESPN networks, because, you know, you always could get better, but you always want to make sure that you're delivering the same energy that you would on any other show. No show is more important than the next person's show. And we never know, like, we could be having a genuine conversation in a great podcast like we're about to do and that like we're doing. And it could be that one clip or one segment that goes viral.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So every time you get in front of the mic or in front of the camera, I'm like, nah, my boots laced up and I'm ready to go.
That's beautiful, man. 5 years from now, KP, where do you see yourself, man, in your brand?
You know what's crazy, Mike? Jay, the thing is that I honestly wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be the next head coach that was a big man that played in the league. Because I feel like us bigs, we don't get our just due, right? They think it's just point guards and small forwards that could be head coaches. Like, nah, they ain't the only people that could be a head coach and know the game of basketball. So I can't lie, I fell in love. The media thing kind of happened by accident, and then I fell in love with it. Because now I'm able to be home more with my family, and also it's more convenient because I'm going to watch basketball anyway. Now I just get to watch the games and go talk about it the next morning on television, and then have the rest of the day to be with my family. I'm like, oh man, it's cool. You know what? Since I done been on TV, I done got more marketing deals than I did when I was playing.
Come on.
You had no idea You had no idea the second career was coming your way so fast, right?
I did not. And so to answer your question, in 5 years, I believe that I will still be in the commentating. I really enjoy it. It's definitely hard work. I will say this: I got a greater appreciation for everyone that's in commentating and in journalism, because the work that you have to do. I hosted First Take 3 times, right, this season. Well, I had to fill in for Stephen A. And it's a 2-hour show, and it was my first time where I had to talk different sports and debate with Max, right? And the preparation the night before, the stats you got to look at, the things you got to be able to do to hold that seat down for 2 hours, is remarkable, man. So I give them guys a lot of, people may not agree with Max sometimes and agree with Stephen A. Or Rachel or whoever the host is, but I'm telling you, those people really do a great job of doing their homework. They don't have no shortcuts, and it's a hard task. They up at 5 in the morning every single morning doing production meetings and everything. So I got a great appreciation for those people that I didn't know nothing about.
Yeah, being in the that world is such a grind. Let me ask you this, Kendrick. I could see you doing like the Inside the NBA show. I could see you there. Here's okay. I'm gonna just forecast it a little bit. Whose chair would you think you could take? There's 4 chairs. There's Ernie. There's Shaq. There's obviously Charles and Kenny.
There's no way I could take Ernie's spot.
Nope.
No, he keeps the show going. Exactly.
Ernie is like to host it, to actually be the host of that show, and how he's able to do it and read the teleprompter and all that. That's a whole nother level. Now I could sit in Shaq's spot. I could talk to do. I could sit in Barkley's spot and give out bold takes. Majority of the time he's wrong, I'll be right. Or I could sit right there in Kenny's spot and go run up to the board also and dissect plays and break down plays and show, hey, look, on this side, this guy was supposed to X out. This wasn't this person's fault. This was this weak side defender fault because he was supposed to be the first guy to X. So I think I could go sit down at that round table. The only spot I don't want is Ernest.
Man, I could see you at any of those 3 spots, actually, man. And I hope someday maybe you end up at one of those spots. I do. Whose spot do you want him to take?
Man, K has a great future ahead of him, man. Sure I appreciate, you spending this time with us, man. I know you busy. I'm always seeing you on ESPN, on someone's show, ripping someone, and basically... making your name in this world. I understand how difficult it is, especially for an athlete to make that transition. And you're stomping your position in. And I approve and I appreciate you, man, knowing who you are, coming in as a high school, draft, and just to see your transition into the man you are today, man. Salute to you, my guy, for real.
I appreciate it, Mike, man. And fellas, y'all don't understand that at times it is hard for the simple fact that, if you go on there and these networks see that you're being biased towards players, or you're not going out there and actually calling it how it is, or keeping it 100, then they're going to replace you. They want people to go out there that's authentic, that's not going to be afraid to step out on the limb. Like I called the Miami series, you can't be afraid of it. And here it is, I'm being me. I'm not trying to be nobody else. I'm being this country boy from Beaumont, Texas. Yes, sometimes I may speak with broken English. I'm not sitting up here looking in encyclopedias or dictionaries trying to expand my vocabulary. No, you go get the real raw talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes I be tweeting and it don't be the right, pronunciation or whatever, and people be like, Perk, you supposed to say this. I said, man, this is Twitter. This is not English class. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Man, Perk, man, you be you, and you be you how you only know how to be it. The Broad Street Bully, baby.
I like that.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Perk, man. Always love, man. Thanks for checking in.
I appreciate y'all, man. And look, I'm going to be looking forward to checking out the pod, and y'all let me know when it's going to drop. Y'all let me know when I need to release this, because I'm going to be looking forward to watching it when it's going to be every week?
Every week. Yes, sir.
Every week. Yeah, I got to make sure this penciled in.
That's what's up, man. I got one more question, Perk. Who you got for the championship this year, man?
Okay, so here it is. I'm rolling with Miami to come out of the East, all right? Miami is coming out of the East. I feel like they got past the Bucks. I feel like they could beat the Celtics or the Raptors. They're deep. Eric Spoelstra is doing his thing, so I'm rolling with them. Now, out of the West, it's hard. It's just hard for me to bet my money against LeBron James. It's hard for me to bet my money. And then with him having Anthony Davis alongside playoff Rondo. See, the thing what people don't realize is that IQ.
100%.
Right? So you got two of probably the smartest guys in the NBA on the floor at the same time. Two of the best floor generals in LeBron James and Rondo who can figure out things on the fly. Not doing the timeout. They figured they could just break a defense and go do something on their own agenda and have each other covering for each other because they're that intelligent. So I honestly got the Lakers winning the championship. I know a lot of people are hopping on the Clippers, but the inconsistency of Paul George, like one night he giving you 30, the next 2 nights you can't find him. You know, and I'm a big fan of Kawhi Leonard Jordan. I feel like Kawhi games mimic Michael Jordan, and he's the second best player in this world. But when I look at the championship pedigree and experience on that Laker roster, along with Anthony Davis, a guy that's capable of going for 40 and 15, I got to give the edge to the Lakers.
You know what, man? I appreciate that. I got to agree with that. The way Rajon is playing right now, I always said he's just as good as a Chris Paul or any all-star point guard because of his IQ. And having him healthy on the court is having a great – you have another weapon out there. So that makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely.
Man, again, KP,
it's a
big
gift.
baby. Love, baby. Thank you.
All love.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Thank
love
you, KP.
Casket clothes and more, man. I appreciate y'all, man. I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to do my daddy duties, take my twins to gymnastics.
Yeah.
Man,
Gymnastics.
Get back in front of TV. I don't know. Look, I don't know what to watch today, man. You got the Kansas City Chiefs on.
Come
you got
on.
the Rockets and Lakers.
Come on.
I gotta go Rockets and Lakers though. They had 7 million views last game.
Yeah.
Everybody want to see this.
Yeah.
action.
Man, watch out with them fights with your baby and that remote control as well, man.
Hey, Kendrick, you're welcome anytime back on Mission
Man,
Bound.
please.
Please come back. Please.
Let me know, especially with us getting deep into the playoffs. After 11 o'clock, my day is done. So y'all let me know, man. I'm always ready. So you know I can talk hoops all day.
Man, we got to bring the Broad Street Bully back anytime. KP, love. Thank you.
Love my brothers. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Kendrick. Man, that was a lot of fun having Kendrick on the show. He keeps it 100 all the time. What'd you think?
Man, he was amazing. I think he was genuine. And maybe, you know, he talked about all it takes is one clip for it to go viral.
Right.
You know, he's one of those guys, when you're bringing in high quality, you know, people like we'll be able to get on our show, man. Hopefully, not only will the fans like us, but they'll also, you know, be excited about the people that we're bringing on to talk about.
I love how he talked about the behind the scenes of what he does as a commentator, because it's not just hitting play on a camera and talking into it. He has a lot of prep. He does a lot of work to get ready for that.
Man, it's just as, and I looked at it like, wow, it's just as much preparation that he did to prepare for an NBA basketball game.
Right.
You know how he had to prepare his body and prepare his mind to go into combat is the same exact thing now he's doing to prepare to get on camera.
Absolutely.
He's putting in his work, and that's the reason why he's going out there speaking as confidently as he can. But he is a little thuggish out there. He a thuggish, ruggish bone a little bit out there.
But I think it's a fresh voice for the commentary circle, right?
Yeah.
He's different. He's a little bit disruptive, and I like that.
So, you know, I got a new nickname for him. He's no longer Big Baby.
What is he?
It's the Broad Street Bully.
Ooh, the Broad Street Bully. You heard it here first on Mission Bound. Thank you for watching today's episode, and we want to make sure that you don't miss any future episodes, so make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Tom, did you know you can listen to us as well?
Mike, can they really?
Yes, sir. I mean, you can search Mission Bound Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Holla at your boy.